So there was a bit of news happening on CNN. One of the N stands for news. Don Lemon brought on the host of Reliable Sources, Brian Stetler. I can't say the guy's name. Anyway, Brian Setzer's from the Stray Cats. Not that guy.
Brian Setzerwater.
So it's this guy. And so listen to what he has to say. He's upset with Donald Trump because Donald Trump has been saying a lot of stuff about the election being rigged if he doesn't win. So let's hear what Brian has to say about his disdain for Donald Trump.
I was talking about one example in particular. Donald Trump last week saying he's worried the election will be rigged against him in November. Mm-hmm. This is not normal political rhetoric. This is not something Mitt Romney or John Kerry or Al Gore or any former candidates ever said. This is dangerous to have a candidate talking about a possible stolen election. There's no proof, there's no evidence, and there's lots of evidence to contradict it. And yet, Trump said it repeatedly on Fox News and was not challenged by interviewers.
Oh, no kidding? You mean the Fox News didn't push back on a blatant lie on Fox News? That's weird. He acts like, can you believe they didn't push back? This is the media critic for CNN. He came flummoxed that they didn't push back on Fox News of the lie from Donald Trump. He's like, they didn't push back on it, so I got to say something. It's unbelievable.
The right-wing propaganda machine let us down again. Can't believe it.
Right-wing.
How could they?
Fox News let us down again.
We rely on them for misinformation from their corporate overlords. The Oligarchy Times is spreading some BS.
All right, so Brian has some more.
So my argument is, when confronted by something that is downright dangerous, even interviewers who love Donald Trump and support him and want to see him elected have to step up and challenge him. Mm-hmm. These are dangerous times when you have a candidate saying something like that. By the way, if Hillary Clinton was warning of a rigged election, damn right, we should stand up and argue against it and fight back. But right now, it's Donald Trump saying it.
Thank you.
Shaking my hand?
Yes, I'm shaking your hand because I think you're absolutely right. Because
we don't really tell the truth on our network all the time, right? We do false equivalencies all the time. We even pay Trump propagandists to come on we are doing such a disservice to America that I can't believe you are even allowed to say this on our own network right now. This is amazing that you're doing this. So he literally shakes the guy's hand for saying something obvious. He's like, oh, my God, thanks for saying the completely most obvious thing ever, because turns out we're not allowed to do that here. So it's big deal. This is a big deal. Don Lemon literally shook his hand. That's one journalist shaking the other journalist's hand. That's such that's a real Walter Cronkite, the war has been lost moment, isn't it?
Well, when they were in college, young journalism students, they looked forward to that moment 20 years in the future when they might do journalism for a few seconds.
When they might actually frame a story correctly.
Dream fulfilled.
And now look, you're going to watch Don Lemon. Listen to what he says he's lamenting, like, why can't we do this more often? Here we go.
We get stuck with this false equivalency sometimes. If Donald Trump says something outlandish, then you must point out something outlandish. You have to find something outlandish or something wrong to point out with the other side. And there's not always an equivalent.
Now, I don't know if you noticed what he just said. We always get stuck. Sometimes we get stuck with this false equivalence. He's saying we get stuck, meaning the news gets stuck. He doesn't mean that we get stuck being accused of it. He's saying we get stuck because our bosses demand we do false equivalences. This is what he's saying. This is what he's revealing right now. Do you see what he's saying? He's saying we get stuck with it, meaning they're forced to do it, even though when there isn't an equivalent on the other side, and it drives him nuts, and he doesn't enjoy this. He's revealing it right now. This is unbelievable that Don Lemon is saying this on CNN, and no one's stopping him. And it's still out there, this video. Here we go.
Always black equals white, or the other side. The other side doesn't always do something wrong or stupid or silly
wrong.
Or equally
and
as bad.
There are plenty of days.
And he's saying, but yet we still have to go out and report it like that. He's saying sometimes the other side there isn't an equivalent to Donald Trump's craziness, yet we always have to keep pretending. That's what Don Lemon is saying right now. And that's amazing that they both just don't go, wow, do you hear what we're saying? We're forced to do horrible, fake, neutral journalism when objectively you have to call stuff out. This is what he's saying. We no longer have the luxury of being neutral. This is what Brian here from Stray Cats is saying, that you can't always be neutral. At some point, you have to objectively say, this is dangerous. And Don Lemon's saying, and sometimes you have to objectively say, there is an equivalent on the other side for this. Sometimes you actually have to frame things accurately. Most of the time we frame things inaccurately. We give a false frame to things, like it's both sides do it. So if there's maybe one good thing from Donald Trump, it's having these guys admit that what they normally do, which is a disservice and not really journalism, that's pretend journal, that's not news. Pretending that everyone does bad things equally, that's not news. So at least that what this has done is Donald Trump has forced them to admit that that's wrong. And now they're finally admitting it. This is great. This is the Luke Russer both sides do it syndrome. It's everywhere. It's not just at CNN, it's everywhere. He's admitting it. So it gets worse.